You know, in the age of uncertainty, I sometimes wonder if the Lord delays his coming, another generation will look back on the birthing of our purely technological society and try to decipher, watch this, fake news from the real news. I pray they don't have to look back on the church in our day and wonder, was there continuing maintenance of apostolic tradition or just a shell of a true worship society? Will our generation be remembered as a beacon to a society that's obsessed with rights, or just another era of titled pretenders claiming greatness but leaving no recorded impact? Hi, I'm Dennis Scoffin, and welcome to our program for today. Just wanted to give that observation as we started out, because I think it's a great observation as we begin to look at where we are in terms of the three principles we have been talking about all the time. What's at risk is our 3 points of discussion that I've been talking about over and over again: our faith, our family, our finance. That seems to be a ticker tape or something that brings us to this constant understanding of who we are and where we are. Hit the like button and swear and share this with others. Put your comments in the comment section or whatever social media platform you're watching us on. If you're on Facebook, you can put your comments right there. But one of the things I think that is tremendous as I keep discussing this and getting to the concept of God's last word for our issue is where we are in relationship to developing this. I hope that out of this, we can get back to what I want to call a Christian worldview, developing a view of the world that's from a Christian perspective. We've been talking about in terms of developing this concept of moving from modernism to postmodernism, an age of uncertainty where nothing is truth. It is because we're in an epistemological society where everybody is inundated with information, but actually no real absolute truth. We're full of questions. That's what philosophical viewpoint has brought us to, that we question everything and refuse the answers for anything. And so we have developed a society of opinions. Everyone has an opinion about life, about God, about the church, about the Bible, about science. Everything is risk because we see flaws. We've seen flaws in the church. The church has made claims, and then we have leaders who have not lived out to the claims that the church has made. It has brought us to this idea where people are questioning our version of reality. That is astonishing and not really bringing us to where we need to be in terms of our world society. I want to go back to First John chapter 2, verse 15. John is writing. He is the youngest disciple of Jesus, but the oldest living apostles. He had a chance to see his world, the Christian world, longer than any of the other apostles or writers had lived. He outlived. He was not martyred like some of the other apostles. He lived out a term. He got to see the development and the transition of the church from coming out of a primarily Jewish church to moving into a sort of Gentile church, and then a denial of what God was, a denial of the person and work of Jesus Christ, a Gnostic viewpoint world, and seeing that we were inundated with this whole viewpoint of how society should be run and a world view of where we are in the body of Christ. But he writes in 1 John 2:15, do not love the world or anything in the world. If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in them. Now, I described worldview over and over again. Last week in other episodes, I've been talking about worldview is what you think about the world, you have formed in your mind of what you think society is. And since we are gathering information from Google, from YouTube, from philosophers that question certainties, everything becomes uncertain today. And so we don't have any absolutes for people to look at. For everything in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, the pride of life, the three things that takes us away from the loves of the Father. It does not come from the Father, but it comes from the world, the society from without. We see this moving over and over again. So we don't understand. Paul takes us into another reality of it, though, in Romans 12 and 2. He says, do not conform to the pattern of this world or the social order of the cosmos, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, change of thinking. Then we'll be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. Wow. I wonder if we really know what God's will is, what he wants for our life, what he wants for us. We have come to understand three philosophical questions that we ask over and over again, where we don't accept the answers that we give in scriptures anymore. Who am I? Why am I here? Where am I going? Three great philosophical questions. Who am I? Am I a creation of a creator God? Or have I evolved in sort of scientific evolution? What really is my reality? What is the world saying I am? A humanist viewpoint would say all that you want is inside of you. Postmodernist viewpoint said there's nothing that is genuine. Everything is uncertain. Your truth is whatever truth you make for yourself. That's where we are in our postmodern society. Whether we know it or not, those of you who are leaders in Christian world, there's a decline in Christianity. I will say over and again, it has nothing to do with the post-pandemic we just came out of. People had stopped going to church long before the pandemic. And I think we just have not realized that there's been a decline in church attendance, but there's a decline in belief in God. There's a decline in the whole issue of where we are in the body of Christ. What do you think? Christianity in America has dropped from 70% to 63% of people who are professing that they are Christians. The nuns have taken over. No religious affiliation at all. Agnostics, very small percentage. People deny that there is a God at all. Atheists, small percentage. But there are nuns, people who have no sense of what their religious affiliation is. They refuse to have labels. That's what's happening in our postmodern society. We're now becoming a labelless society. And if you don't like my label, too bad. My label is as good as any label. And so we have this pluralistic viewpoint of society that people don't want to be boxed into any one thing, whether it's sexual orientation, whether it's racial identity, or whatever it is. It's this plurality thinking. I am who I say I am, not what you say I am, not even what God says I am, because basically there is really no creator God. That becomes an idea of looking forward to these basic five worldviews to consider. Now, there are other worldviews to consider. Everybody has a concept of the world. Everything we do presents our concept of the world. When I was growing up, we didn't have as many questions as people have now, probably because we didn't have as much information. as they have now. Information can be dangerous. Daniel says in the last days that many would be getting too much information. Knowledge would increase as epistemology increases and people keep getting more information and discovering that there is misinformation. We're in an age of discovering between fake news and real news. And so the good news, what we call the gospel, doesn't become good news anymore. It becomes alternative news. And so our mindset, this postmodern mindset, is constantly being inundated with information, YouTubing, Google, internet, Siri, Alexa. We're almost being programmed without understanding that we're being programmed to all sort of technological identities and things that are bombarding our mind. It is becoming interesting. The more we look at it, the more reality we discover that we don't have and that we don't want to have because we don't know who we are. It doesn't matter because my reality is not your reality. And your reality does not shape my reality. I guess we'll have to look back at the Bible. But we keep reading what people say about the Bible. We keep listening what people say about God, but we're not taking our own intellectual journey for ourselves. I find that in Bible study, sometimes people read more about what commentators say than they do the actual scriptures itself. And unfortunately, we see more television, more social media, and we're listening to the opinions of others that have no substance. Where are we going? Paul says in the last days, men would be lovers of themselves, falling away. He described much of what's called humanism today. He described the society. And in our postmodern society, which began in 1979, of where we are, it's now a question of reality. We are now the intellectual, informative, scientific, technological giants. And so the reality for us is being crushed in who and what we think or say we are. And so we miss the point because of our mindset. A mindset that does not have an awe or respect for God. A mindset that is not seeking the things of God. But there's the last word. He's coming back. And so we get to this point of not understanding, not being relative to, not taking ourselves to this point. I wonder, I'm raising issues so that by the time I get to the last word, it will be the word and not a word. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it today. Keep trusting, keep believing. Let's keep thanking God for what he's doing, for how he is developing us, that we might move in relationship with him and through him. Join me tomorrow.